Hi, we're back here. This should be the last lecture for price elasticity of demand. We are talking about revenue and elastic demand and inelastic demand. And I was talking about the latter, about inelastic demand, and about if you're a price taker, you really don't like your demand to be inelastic. If you have price making power like Disneyland, then you definitely do want that because you can raise your price. Here, they can't control the price. And so the problem here is that you're selling something that has a very inelastic demand, which means if the price goes down, you're not going to gain that many customers. And this happens to most of our agricultural products. So I could put milk down here, I could put wheat there, I could put apples. The problem about food products is that we only need to eat so much. And so if the price comes down, for example, if milk prices come down by 20%, how much more milk are you going to buy? We pretty much buy milk when it runs out. And so the price of milk comes down 20%. Are we going to buy 5 more gallons of milk? What are you going to do with them? You can't store them. They're going to you maybe freeze them, I guess, if you have a lot of freezer space, but it seems kind of counterproductive since milk isn't that expensive, and therefore you're not going to buy that much more milk. So here if the price is P1, this would be our total revenue. And the problem with farmers is that they tend to be quite productive. And so they tend to have an increase in supply because they work hard and they produce a lot more food. And the problem is it doesn't translate into more money. So let's say the supply increases to here is 2. Well, then the price comes down quite a bit. You have a huge surplus of milk. And at that lower price, you're not going to sell that much more milk. You're going to sell a little bit more milk. Right there. And that'll be the quantity 2 at price 2. And the problem now is that your revenue is no longer this high rectangle here. It's now going to be this smaller rectangle here. Yes, it is a little wider. And so you did gain this area right here. But the problem is we lost all of this. The lower price did not translate into a great increase in sales. Demand's inelastic. We saw a very small increase in sales, and that's a problem with price takers with inelastic demand. To make it even worse, what happens is that farmers have only one way to increase their revenue, and that's by producing more milk, more wheat. They can't control the price. They can't raise the price. If a dairy farmer raises the price above the market average, no one's going to buy it from them. All the wholesalers will buy the milk from thousands of other dairy farmers, and this one's going to be out of luck. So they can't command a higher price because they don't have any price-making power. And therefore, they only see their way out of the situation is to produce even more. And this actually has an effect of driving supply out even more. And just makes the situation even worse. They sell a little bit more, they take a big hit in the revenue, and the process goes on and on. And the only way to really solve this problem is to either allow some of the dairy farmers to go bankrupt, because this is what the market is saying, there's too many dairy farmers, or the way we've done it is to have the government come in and set up price floor systems to try to support the dairy farmers, which we talked about earlier in chapter 4. And by doing that, it causes the price to be above the equilibrium price, and it causes a surplus, and the government has to come in and buy that surplus up. And it's a very expensive program. But that's the result of the dairy farmers and the wheat farmers who are in a market which has a very inelastic demand, and they are price takers. Okay, let's talk about unitary elastic. And so now this is when the price elasticity of demand is equal to 1. The percent change in quantity demanded is the same as the percent change in price, and so the good effect and the bad effect are going to cancel themselves out. So if price increases, quantity demanded will increase, but since their change is equal, they cancel out. The good effect is the same as the bad effect, no change in total revenue. If price increases, quantity demanded is going to decrease, again, by the same magnitude. And so you do get more from every customer that you sell to, but you sell the same proportionally less, and therefore your revenue also stays the same. Okay, I have another cat having troubles. Where was I? Oh yes, so if your elasticity is 1 and your price goes up or down, So if elasticity is 1, and if the price goes up, total revenue will stay the same, or if the price goes down, total revenue will stay the same. This is provided one condition, that the elasticity stays equal to 1. Because if you raise your price and your elasticity starts becoming more elastic, then your revenue is going to start falling. And if you drop your price and your demand becomes more inelastic again, your revenue is going to start falling. And that's because your unitary elastic is sort of a magical point. Remember, we have 3 regions of elasticity. The upper region is elastic, the lower region is inelastic, and right smack in the middle it's elastic. Well, because if it's elastic and you drop your price, remember, your revenue is going to increase. And if it's inelastic and you raise your price, your revenue is going to increase until we get to there. Now, if you raise your price past that point, your revenue is going to start to fall. So when you raise your price this way, it's now elastic, remember, and it's elastic and you raise your price, total revenue is going to decrease. And here, this is the problem with the farmers. The price goes down because they increase their supply, and that's going to drive the revenue down as well. And so right here is where your revenue is maximized. And that's true for anyone, even Disneyland. The thing about Disneyland is that the demand is so steep, like that their magical point is way up here somewhere. So that's why you want to get your demand to be steeper, because this magical point where you maximize revenue is going to get higher and higher and higher, which means your revenue, this maximum revenue number is going to be increasing all the time. So know this for the exams, that again we have our 3 regions of elasticity: elastic, unitary elastic, and inelastic. And then if you're at unitary elastic, you maximize your revenue. And if you raise your price to lower your price past that point where your elasticity is no longer 1, your revenue is going to be going down. And here, if you're down at the bottom part, lower part of demand, you want to raise your price to increase your revenue. And you're up here at the upper part, you want to drop your price to increase your revenue. Now again, if you're up here, you got to be careful, because again, you're going to be selling more, so your cost to be going up. So you have to balance the higher revenue with the higher cost. Down here, it's pretty simple. Since you raise your price, you'll be selling less. If anything, your cost is going to go down. So this is really a much easier decision. You're guaranteed your profit will go up. Here, we're guaranteed our revenue is going to go up. We're not quite sure about our profit. Okay, and that is the price elasticity of demand. And now we're going to move into other types of elasticity.